Good Saturday morning. We are ready for a day full of cooking and having a lot of fun. And happy Labor Day to those of you who are already celebrating your Labor Day weekend. And I am just so excited that you guys are going to be right here in the kitchen, ready to go with me today. We're going to have so much fun. And when I think of these kinds of holidays like Labor Day, like 4th of July, the number one thing that comes to my mind is a delicious apple pie. And that's what we're going to start with today. We're going to get that apple pie put together. And the fun part about it is that I've got homemade pie crust ready to go. I've got some absolutely delicious Granny Smith apples that I've sliced and put together. We've been talking about freezing and storing, and I got my slices all together. So we're going to further that conversation as we're working. And so welcome to all of you to the kitchen of Ebony, Ivy, and Thyme, where we do things in the kitchen and we do things also for the kitchen. So I'm so excited to have you here. And we want to get started because we've got a lot to do today. So the first thing that we're going to do is to put together our pie crust. We got to make sure we get it nice and rolled out. Then we're going to work on the filling. Good morning, good morning. And we are going to be ready to get that into the oven. Now, let me tell you, the oven is already preheated to 425. And we're going to leave that pie in for about 15 minutes at 425. And without opening the oven, we're going to cut it back to 350 and let it finish baking. And that's going to be delicious. And once we get that oven down to 350, then we're going to put something together that's going to be great for Labor Day morning. So without further ado, let's get started. So I've got my pie crust, got my pumpkin spice ready to go here, just in case. And I hope you guys are doing fun things today. So let me get my rolling pin. And I had you all in mind as I was working. I thought, we want to, because of the fact that this is a holiday weekend, we want to have fun. We want to be able to do some things in advance, and that's what we're doing today. We're doing some things in advance of the Monday holiday. So what I'm doing, this was a 2-crust recipe. Now, do I have a video? Yes, the video is ready to be deployed for the pie crust because they come together just like that. And it's so delicious. So we're going to take half of this. I'm going to put it out on my parchment, which I set my camera on. And we're going to get this rolled out. I'm going to take just a tiny bit of flour, just a little bit, to keep things from sticking. Get that rolled out, get that dish ready, and get it flattened. And put it in a little ball, back in the ball it was in, because that's going to make it easier to get into the shape that we want. I think I need just a little bit of flour for my rolling pin. I'm going to put just a little bit on there, and then we're going to start to roll it out. Now, the cool thing about rolling pie disc out is that you're rolling from the center out. And that was something I had to learn because I would just start rolling, and I keep rolling until I finally got the shape. And I just had not realized that there's a method to the madness. So if we roll from the center out, then you're going to find that the shape that you want is going to come together very quickly. Now, I don't know if you can tell, but if you were just a tiny bit closer, you would be able to see that I've got chunks of butter, that's in this crust because we want this crust to be nice and buttery. You know, that's what our pie crusts are all about. Gotta have the butter. And in fact, in this recipe, this is a recipe that I got from the American's Test Kitchen. And so they use a combination of butter and shortening. So it's going to give your pie crust a very delicious finish. So let's see, I think that ought to be just about there. I'm getting a little more this way, just to get them into the pie plate. Now my pie plate I have already greased and it is ready to receive the crust. And I'm going to pick this up and I'm going to place it, hopefully gently. It's going to be good. And I'm going to place it gently right into this pie plate. And you know, if it breaks, it's okay. You just kind of mash it back together because pie crusts are very forgiving. I had taken this out to make sure it's a good temperature because you don't want it too cold because then it's hard to work with. But we do want to be able to get, and I can see that I'm going to need, where's my knife? I'm going to take my knife and I'm just going to knock off some of the extra because we want this to be attractive as well as, because you never know who might drop in and have a little bit of this pie with you. And certainly I love having you all in the kitchen. So I'm going to take some of this, and not that it didn't have enough. I just wanted it a little, the sides a little longer over here. And if you have some, I have even taken some of the extra and folded it under, because if you're a crust girl and you like that crust, then that's what you're going to want to do. So this is our bottom crust in. So voila, that's how fast it came together. And all that's good to go. Now, if you want to fancy it up, you can take a fork and just kind of go through, give it a little tap so it gets a little rib around the edge. And if you want more lip, you can make sure it has more lip. I'm not so worried about a big lip, but I do want a little more. And if it's not enough, I have enough little pieces and little extras that, as you can see, that I can add in. I'm going to put a little bit over there. Turn this way. I'm going to add that right there. Work on my lip. See how easy it works? It's a very easy crust. It's very nice and soft and nice and buttery. So there's our crust, the bottom crust ready to go. Now, since we have the bottom crust ready, I'm going to set that off to the side. I have a little pieces left here. I'm going to put that here because what we're going to do, and I'm going to go ahead and try to do some of this right now. What we're going to do is we're going to sprinkle just a little bit of flour on this surface. Oop, on this surface, I'm going to try to turn you down. There you go. I'm going to sprinkle a little bit of flour on this surface, and I'm going to roll it out again. But this time, I'm going to roll it more in a rectangle. This top crust is going to be more in a rectangle because it's Labor Day, so we're going to try to make it just a little fancy, okay? So I'm sprinkling a little flour on top so that there's no sticking. We don't want any sticking. So I got my rectangle. Yeah, I think I can get enough flour there. And we're going to start to roll our rectangle out. And we're going to turn it as we go. So we're going to roll. And we're going to roll it. And then we're going to widen it a little bit. There we go. And you know, I'm looking at this thinking, okay, we need a little more width. So let's go back over here. I'll bring it that way. Bring some of this because it's a little thicker. You just play with it. You know, it takes you back to being a little girl when you like to be in your kitchen with your mom. And your mom would, she would have dough or whatever it is that they're baking. And you could play with the dough. So that's what it brings me back to, those days of having that dough. Now, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to cut some strips. And I'm going to make those strips probably about, I call it a finger width. And there we go. We're going to cut those strips and we're going to play with them and we're going to decorate the top of that apple pie. So there we go. Those are going to be our strips that are going to go across this pie. Now, let me tell you what I did to the apples. I try to keep apple pie filling in my freezer. That's one of those things that I usually have in the freezer, just in case there might be a need for a pie. And I put the apples in, I put the sugar in, I put lemon juice in. And so that's what's in here. We've got, I made a mixture of a half a cup of regular granulated sugar, about a half cup of brown sugar, and I put a couple of tablespoons of lemon juice just to keep the color of the apples very pretty. And so they have been in that mixture. Now, what we're going to add to this mixture is that, and this is a good way too to keep it clean, keep things clean. And because you have it contained inside of this bag. Now we're going to add in a little bit of salt, just a pinch. And the reason for the salt is not to make it salty, but the reason for the salt is to bring out the sweetness. So we're going to add in about 1/4 of a teaspoon of salt. And we're going to sprinkle that in and we'll zhuzh this up in just a moment. I'm going to also add in a couple of teaspoons of vanilla. Don't you love the size of this bottle? The little baby. A pure vanilla, because that's what we always want to use. I'm going to get a couple of teaspoons of vanilla. I like a little vanilla, hint of vanilla in the background. Now, maybe if you weren't looking, I might just give it a little toss, but I want you to know the exact measurement. So that's why I'm being careful. Okay, now here comes the good part. I have apple pie spice. And it may be that you may not always have apple pie spice. And if that's the case, then you're going to have to mix your cinnamon, your nutmeg. There's a touch of allspice in here. Let's see. It says, it usually tells you, oh yeah, it's got cinnamon, it's got nutmeg, it has allspice, those three. So we're going to sprinkle in, if I can get him in there, and of course he doesn't work. So let's see if I can find something a little smaller that might go in there. He doesn't want to go in either. All right, so we're going to have to do it a little different today. So I'm going to measure this out in my hand and measure from there. So there's our first teaspoon that I'm putting in. Ah, it smells so good. And this is one of those spices that when you buy it, you want to try to use as much of it as you can, because you just can't keep it from year to year because the flavor will diminish. Okay, so we've got all of that in there, and I'm going to add in an additional teaspoon of cinnamon. There we go, a little more cinnamon into the mix. All right, so we've got our apples, our apple pie spice, a little extra touch of cinnamon. We've got the vanilla. We've got the pinch of salt. We've got lemon, a little bit of lemon juice to keep our apples looking pretty. And our sugars are in there, a total of 1 cup of sugar. Now, your 1 cup of sugar can be divided between brown sugar and regular white granulated sugar. So we got all of that in the bag. I'm going to get that mixed up, and then we're going to start to give it a little zhuzh. Now, the good thing is that these apples are nice and moist, and I used about 10 Granny Smith apples that I peeled and sliced. And we're going to place these into the pie plate. And you want to pile them. You want to pile them high because you know they're going to cook down once they're in that mixture and in that pot. So because of that, you want to make absolutely certain that you have plenty of apples. So typically, I use a gallon bag, fill it pretty tight, put all the seasonings in there, and everything's ready to go. So say, for instance, you're cooking for the holiday, I would do maybe 3 of these and have it in your freezer. That way, if you're doing a large cobbler, then you're going to need 2 of these for your 9 by 13. But if you're just doing a regular pie plate, then you'll just need 1 per pie. So here we go. Let's get the top on the salt so I won't make a mistake with that. We're going to get our everything moved out of the way. I'm going to put a little parchment underneath just in case. And we're going to start to add the apples to this mixture. And I'm going to try to get a pretty good sized spoon here because I'm going to spoon them out because there's quite a bit of juice that's down in the bottom. And I'm not sure I'm going to use all of that juice. So I'm just going to put my apples in, ladle them into the bag. Oh, they smell good. And you know that brown sugar just adds a special touch. Gives it some good flavor. And you notice I've got them. I'm going to put them over the top. Whoop. I also have a pan in the bottom of the oven. So just in case we have a little bubbling, then, which we probably will, it will catch the juices, just in case. Now, this particular pie plate is just a little bit smaller than some. So you may have a few extra apples. And if you do, it's okay. Yeah, I'm debating on whether I'm going to put some more in. Now, I'm going to get a bowl because I can tell you what I did. I forgot to put a little bit of flour in. We need about a 1/4 cup of flour. So this is what I'm going to do. You know, it's going to need a little bit of juice. So I'm going to take some of the juice that is in this bag. And you know, it happens to all of us. So I'm going to get a little juice, just a little bit. And I'm going to add in a little bit, about a 1/4 cup of flour. So here's our 1/4 cup. I'm going to put that in, and we're going to make a slurry. So how is everyone? Let me put my glasses on so I can see you. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Oh, Carol says she likes to keep peach and apple pie filling on hand for desserts. Absolutely, that's the way to go. Good morning to all of you. You know that pie crust, this pie crust really is easy. And you can either do it by hand or you can do it in a processor. And if you happen to have a processor, that just makes it even that much faster when you need it. So we have our flour here, and I'm just taking my fork and kind of mixing it up. And I'm actually going to pour this over our apples. And what that's going to do is that it's going to thicken our juices, whatever juices that are made. It's like making, we're going to say, like a glaze or a gravy for the apple pie. How about that? All right. Now, we've got that in. That looks good, looks good, looks good. Now, one thing we need to do, we need to dot the top of this with butter. And even though we have butter in the crust, we got butter, we don't have butter on the apples. So I'm going to make sure we're not eating paper. This butter has a little bit of paper right there. We're going to take care of that. Get that out. Okay, so I'm going to take some little pieces of butter and go put it over the top. Because an apple pie is not a good apple pie without a buttery flavor. And this is nice and soft. So it's just going to melt down into this mixture. Got that going. And you could certainly cube your butter in advance. But you know, most of the time when we decide to just get in the kitchen and start cooking, we haven't cubed a thing. We just made sure that we have the ingredients that we need and we're ready to go. So I'm trying to let you know, see, we're home cooks. We are home cooks and that we are cooking for our family, doing fun things. Now, I think I have enough apples in. And I'm looking at this thinking I've got a few little places that can stand to have just a little more apple. I don't eat the juice, I've got that. But I'm going to stack them just a little more right there. And this side needs just a little touch. So we're going to put that in over there. And, you know, if I were doing this for Southern living, I would put each slice in nice and neat, but we're not. So we're doing it for home, for our family. And they're not going to look at whether or not each little slice is perfect. They're going to cut that slice of pie and dive in. So notice, those are all the apples I have left, just a few. And we might use those in just a minute. We'll see if we can work those into the next recipe because we don't want to waste anything. Okay, we've got our pie ready. We have our pieces ready here. And I'm going to start to pick these up. And because it's a little warm in the kitchen, this has gotten just a little bit soft, but that's okay. I'm going to get them in place. And, you know, they don't have to be perfect. They just have to be good. So here we go. We're going to get those in. And if they break, not a problem. Go. Putting our little lattice on top. Because it has so much butter in it, that's the reason why it's gotten soft and pretty quickly. Plus, it's hot in here because that oven is on 425. Now, what we're going to do is that we're going to place some foil on top of this so that it will have a chance to cook and that the top of our pie won't get too brown. As you know, that happens sometimes where, it browns so fast and we have that tendency to think, oh, it's ready. Well, no, it's not. Okay, well, this one's a really nice one. So I'm going to put that straight across the top. That came up perfectly. Don't you just love it when a plan works out? There we go. There's one nice one. I was kind of hoping I'd get one. Oh, there's another one. Oh, I spoke too soon. I'm going to break that one off, and we're going to bring him over there and finish him up over there. So isn't this fun? It's fun to get your hands into what you're cooking. And I'm going to pick this up, see if he'll pick up and not break. There we go. Get him across there. Got him going. And I need a little piece right here. So I'm just going to place that right there at the edge of that one. And here's another nice one. Let's see if he's going to act nice. Of course not. So there we go. We're bringing it together. This week has been so much fun. I've had the pleasure of having guests for dinner this week. And, guests were family. And when you're able to have family in your kitchen, that's just so special. And we had good conversation and talked about things that, you just don't get to talk about all the time. And what was fun was that we had a young homemaker with us. And her mom and I just had a good time sharing information and all those kind of things with her. And I'm hoping she's watching this morning so that she can get new insight into what's going on in the kitchen. Now, we've got one more strip. See if I can get him all the way as far across as I can. Ooh, got lots of good butter. All right, got one more and a piece. Okay, so we're going to put him right there. There we go. Got that in. Oh, that's great. So let me clean my hands, and then we're going to do a little sprinkle on top of this crust. Now, I hope you ladies have great plans for today, and that you have maybe some activities that you're doing for the weekend and some fun things to do. Now, let me tell you what we're going to do next. We're going to get the sugar. Got to get a little scoop, just a little bit. And what we're going to do is that we're going to gently sprinkle the top with sugar. Now, what that's going to do is that, of course, it's going to brown very pretty, but it's also going to crisp up the crust. And with the butter that's in there, oh my gosh, this is going to be amazing. So we're just adding that little bit of sugar. And That was just enough. Didn't even have a quarter of that cup. So we need to wipe the edges off because we don't want all of that to. I'm going to take my finger and just wipe this little plate off. It has a little lip. Now remember, I have a pan underneath of where this is going to go. And we're cleaning it up so that our pie plate is going to look pretty. So there we go. She's ready for the oven. So let's get her in. Remember, we're starting this. You know what we need? We need our foil. Because we're going to cover this loosely on top. Because we do not want this to burn. So I'm going to put a little bit over here on this side and kind of tighten it up. I'm going to come over here on the other side and pin it so that it will be able to cook. And we're going to leave it like this covered for at least 15 minutes. And I'm going to have to set the clock so that we'll make sure that we do that. So I'm going to kind of turn you. So you got the oven. We're going to get that oven open, and it is screaming because it has been ready for quite a while. So there, foil is ready. There we go. We're going to get that pie in. All right. Now you notice I'm saving another side of the oven. And that's because we're going to make something really good. Since we got all these apples, we're going to be doing some apple-y things. Now, we've talked about over the past couple of weeks or so, we talked about trying to visit our farmers markets. We wanted to make sure that we were buying vegetables and fruits that are in season. So when I went to the farmers market, I ended up with a lot of zucchini as well as some apples. And so, like I said, I had apples out of the wazoo. The big guy's been eating apple. We've just been eating a lot of apples. But apples are good for you. So now what we're going to put together are some muffins because I just love having a good muffin with coffee. And what we're going to do, I have my larger muffin tins out, and you'll see, I got these little muffin cups. They look so much like fall. They were just so pretty. They're kind of a red-orange, which is really a nice autumn look. But once I put them in here, they look pretty tiny. So I thought I would do what I do when I'm out of muffin cups. Now, I've got a piece of parchment that I've laid across the top. I took the other pan, laid it on top, and you know, this is a great option for when you don't have those little muffin cups. When you don't have these, then this is your option. Now, so what we're going to do, we're going to get them in there, and we're going to use our parchment. Now, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to take a little bit of that butter that we had for the pie. I'm going to take some of that, and I'm going to oil our parchment that's going to go down into those muffin cups. So I'm just taking little pinches and going in. You know, sometimes you just don't have that. And so when you don't, it doesn't mean you can't make muffins. It just means you need an alternative. And you know, some muffin tins are so good that they don't stick, but others do. And sometimes you don't find out until it's too late. So we've got our muffin tins ready to go. So we're going to be using those as well as the little ones. So let's put the butter out of the way. We're going to need a bowl, and we are going to bring our little apple zucchini or zucchini apple muffins together. What are you guys cooking for the Labor Day weekend? Are you preparing something fun? You know, I thought about Labor Day. Labor Day is just a really nice holiday. And I can remember as a teacher, Labor Day always marked the official first week of school. And I think somewhere deep down in my heart, I'm still in that mode of thinking we are ready for another year of school. Now I need 1 1/4 cups of sugar for these muffins. So I'm going to I've got a 1/2 cup that's in my sugar container. So I'm going to take out 1/2, 2 halves, and I'm going to get my 4th cup and 1 1/4. 1 1/4 cups of sugar. I also need about 2/3 cup of oil, and I've already gotten that here, and it's already poured, so that's a 2/3 cup of oil. Whoops, you know what I forgot to do? I didn't set that clock, and I certainly need to make sure. I need to make sure that I have something to kind of ring my bell and say, woohoo, let's get this moving. All right, we're going to need 3 eggs in here. So I'm going to add in all 3 eggs. And what is that? We got 1 egg that's a little bit imperfect. So let's see what we can do. You know, sometimes eggs have imperfections. And if they do, then we just have to take them out. All right, so that's gone. All right, so let's get our beater. And we're going to whip this up because these are going to come together very quickly. And it helps if I plug her in. It's going to be just a little bit noisy, but that's okay because we're cooking. It's Saturday morning. Woo. Let's get that going. I got it on high, and I'm going to beat this. And you know, the good thing about this part of your recipe is that you can beat and beat and beat and beat, and it will not affect the quality of your muffins or your cake that you're putting together, because you're just whipping those eggs the way that they need to be with everything, your sugar and your oil, whether it's oil or whether it's butter. And actually, what I didn't tell you is that the oil that I'm using this morning is coconut oil. I thought that would have a nice flavor to the zucchini and the apples. Now I have grated most of the zucchini and the apples, and I'm thinking what I may do is to kind of give a little rough chop to some of these apples that we had left over from the pie, and we're going to put them in here. Okay, so our eggs and our sugar and our oil are nice and fluffy. Woo, that quiets that down. Now, what we are going to do at this point is that we're going to add in a good glove of vanilla. And I need a tablespoon. That's what the recipe says, a tablespoon of vanilla. I like how they think. Okay, so there's our tablespoon of vanilla. If you like less, then you can do that. You could actually half and half, but half almond and half vanilla. And, ooh, that would be good. Okay, so we've got our extract. I already have my flour, my baking powder, and the only thing I'm going to need to add is baking soda to that. So we're going to add in, back to our apple pie spice, because we're trying to use as much apple pie spice during this year as we possibly can. And you know, this apple pie spice, I think I'm just going to sprinkle because of the fact that it's not being very cooperative as far as getting the spoon in. So I'm going to say I have about, let's see, I'm supposed to have about 1 1/2 tablespoon, so I can put a little more in there. Okay, so there we go. And we'll play with the smell. So let's just give that a little mix. And if you want more cinnamon, then you can add more cinnamon to your mixture. You can see how I really spiced it up. Oh, that's a nice color. All right, so I think I'm going to add just a touch of nutmeg, just a little nutmeg, and I'm going to add in a little extra cinnamon to this mixture. There we go. I like that color too. Now, you know, our recipe needs about a half teaspoon. Let me find my half teaspoon. That's 4 and a half. Okay, that's a tablespoon. All right, we'll just use 2/4 of salt because you know that salt's going to bring the sweetness out. And we want to be able to do that. Now, we want to make sure, too, as you are picking up those things that from the farmer's market, you want to get as much as you can. You want to preserve some and put in your food storage, one of those extended pantries if you have a freezer. And I'll pull, if we have time, I'm going to take out what I did with the rest of the zucchini. And I'll show you what I did. And so we're going to whip up this salt. You see I've got lots of good bubbles going here. All right. Now, in this bowl, I have our 3 3 1/4 cups of 2 1/4 cups of flour. And I also have in my baking powder, which was 3/4 teaspoon of baking powder. And I need to add 3/4 teaspoon of baking soda. So let's put in 3. That's 1. That's 2. And that's 3. Now, I'm going to get sometimes we want to make sure that everything is nice and well mixed. And I like putting my flour and its ingredients in a top that I can close because this is what I can do with it and make sure that I get a good mix. So I'm going to mix all of that up because you do not want a mouthful of baking powder and you certainly don't want a mouthful of baking soda when you're baking. So all of that's there. We're ready to go. Now I'm going to take this and actually I'm going to put it through. I'm going to put a little bit through here and get it in and make sure there's no lumps. This also helps with making sure that our ingredients are well mixed. And it's going to give our muffins a great texture. No lumps, none of that. None of that. You're not going to have any lumps. All right. Well, that's it. Have I got enough here that I can just pour in? Yep, I can. Okay, there we go. All right. I'm going to gently do this. And we're going to bring all of this together. Now, in just a few minutes, we're going to add in the fruit and vegetable. And that's a nice combination, nice and healthy. If you wanted to add in seeds or nuts, you could certainly do that. Okay, so that's ready to go. Now I'm going to take this and just very quickly, I'm going to count to 10 in my 10, and when 10 is done, that's it. There's 1. That's 2. That's 3. That's 4. That's 5. That's 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. All right, because we do not want to overmix. So I'm going to take those off, sit that off to the side. Take just a moment and put tops on the container so that we won't have any goose along the way. All right, so in here, we need to add our fruits and vegetables. Now I have apples and zucchini. Get a fork. And yes, they were in the freezer. So I'm going to take out my zucchini and my apples. They're all ready to go. And kind of divide them up as we go. You'll see the color as we bring them out. I'm kind of breaking them up because they've been in to thaw. But this is what we do. When you place them into the freezer to preserve them, you take them out the night before so that they can start to thaw. There we go. Now, they're there. Notice I'm not going to use the mixer. I'm going to use, in fact, I've got a fork. And I'm taking this fork and making sure that they're broken apart. And once I know that, then I can really start to give them a good mix. Now, at this point, you could add a little bit of banana. And I'm not going to do that today only because I'm thinking that I probably would have wanted to do that at the very beginning. I didn't, so we're not going to worry about that. Now, what I am going to do is I'm going to look and see if I might have some nuts. And there might be some nuts lurking in my freezer. And voila, I've got a bag of nuts that were in the freezer. Now, my bag of nuts, these are Priester's pecans, and they're already chopped. So I'm going to start with about a 1/4 cup, and I already know I'm going to need a 1/2. Okay, so I'm going to sprinkle those in. If you don't like pecans and you want something else, you can use almonds. If you'd like some other kind of nut, whatever it is that you like, you can certainly add that in. But I love Priester's pecans. So Priester's pecans, right. So I'm going to give those a good stir. Now, the reason I'm just doing this part by hand is because I don't want to toughen up my muffins. Okay, so it's all ready. Now, what we're going to do, we're going to start with the one that we adapted. We adapted our muffin tin so that the parchment is going to serve as our muffin cup. And let me get a spoon. Nice size. I need a nice size spoon. That one's not going to work. And I need my spatula. Okay, so I'm going to get a spoonful. And I'm going to start to place it into each of the cups. And what's going to happen is that at this point, the cups are kind of sitting on top of the pan, but they will actually fall down into the muffin tin. And remember, I told you these particular muffin tins are pretty large, and that's the reason why I decided to do an adapted one, because the little muffin cups that I had, these little cute fall muffin cups, I bought these. Oh my goodness, they're so tiny. And since I don't have any children around right now, I can go with a larger one. So we're going to do larger ones. And actually, this is a non-stick pan, so technically, I really didn't have to put anything in there. I could have just sprayed it and kept going. But I wanted to show our young homemakers that nothing stops a cook. We do what we do in the kitchen. We adapt and we keep going. So we're going to put these in here. We're going to work it and have some delicious muffins. So I'm popping those in. Each one, trying to make sure I have about the same amount in each one. Now on top of each of these, I'm going to add just a little bit, a little sprinkle of sugar. Now, if you don't want to do that, or you have some of the decorative sugar, you can certainly do that. This is just going to give it a nice little glaze on top. And that was our 15 minutes. So I'm getting ready to cut that oven down to 350. That's where we want it. Okay, so the muffins are the first 10 of muffins are going in. And I am cutting our temperature back down to 350. Okay, and I can hear our pie bubbling. That's the first muffin tin. Now, I am going to use these little ones, even though they are quite tiny. But we just know we can't put nearly as much in them. So I'm going to fill them. Okay, that's just right. So we've got some good things. So you're going to have a little bit of breakfast for next week or for tomorrow. This would be great, going out the door, going to church, grab a muffin, maybe a cup of coffee or a cup of tea, and you have breakfast all ready to go. Add just a little more over there, since we have the space. And we're going to work with that. I like preparing things for breakfast as much in advance as we possibly can. Not that I don't want to cook for breakfast, but you know, it's just nice having a few things already made, and so that it saves you a little bit of time and cleanup. So, you know, biscuits, when I prepare biscuits, I try to prepare enough that we're going to have biscuits throughout the week if we need them. And sometimes I take some of the biscuit dough and I actually freeze it, put it into this little biscuit shapes and freeze them so that I can pop a couple of biscuits out and have them nice and hot and fresh on another day. And that's always very, very nice. The Big Al likes that when they first fresh come out of the oven. This mixture smells wonderful. So I know it's going to be good once they're baked. So I think we're going to have enough for another tin full. And I'll have to wait because we're out of space. So we're going to have to let this cook. But our muffins, our apple pie is in. And I am so happy that you were right here to be a part of it. So we've got this ready. We're going to sprinkle it with a little bit of our sugar. I'll get just a little bit and give it a little shake so it has that little glaze on top. And if you had some of the, I didn't have any, I used it mine from last year, but I had some of the fall orange, kind of orangey, reddy orange sugar. And if you happen to have some of that, that would be awfully pretty on the tops of your muffins. So that gives you something nice. You could even actually ice them. And I'm considering that, putting some icing on some of them, just so that they're a little more desserty. And so these are also ready to go. So while we're waiting, we need about, let's see, how long do we need? They're going to cook about 25 minutes. And that's probably going to take us past our time. But we're going to talk as much as we can while we're waiting. Let's get over here. Let's get over here and let me see who's out here. And we're going to sit down, have a little conversation. And I love getting to talk. You know, I like that. I like talking. Hello, hello. I got a lot of sunshine this morning. Woo! I like it. I like it. I'm not knocking it. Okay, let's see. Ronnie's out there. Got Denise. Got Carol Phillips. Got Deb Whitmore. Good morning. Good morning. Yeah, parchment paper. Yeah, if you wanted to take time and cut, Deb, some squares of parchment paper and put them down in there, you could do that too. But we are moving on this morning. We didn't have time to be fancy. We wanted to make sure that we got what we needed done. Hello, Phyllis. I'm so glad that you're out there. Nadine. Hello. Oh, the crust really is easy. And I'm at that point. I've got 6 double crust. That's how fast they came together. I did 6 double crust in less than an hour. And I was able to put those all together, get them zip locked and ready to go. Wrap them up in, first wrap them in your cling wrap or your plastic wrap, really good, like 2 layers. Then sometimes you'll want to put some foil over that and then slip them into your Ziploc bag. Then that way, when you're ready for a pie or ready for, if you're going to do like a 9 by 13, then you're going to need 2 discs, because especially if you're going to do a double crust. Now, I know some people just do a top crust for their cobbler, but I like a crust on the bottom and I want a crust on top, some type of crust on top. And so because of that, you'll need a whole disc in order to put that together. But the nice thing is that this recipe comes together so fast that you will be able to, I know that sun is messing with us this morning. Let's see if I can scoot up just a little more and not be quite as affected by the light. Okay, let's see who else is here. Oh, Ann, yay! That is going to be great. You're preparing dinner. Good, good. What are you guys cooking for Labor Day? I'm thinking I'm going to do a pork butt. And earlier when we did our grocery haul, if you watched that grocery haul, I think I talked about the fact that I was able to get the pork butt for about $11, and it's a really substantial size pork butt. And so I'm going to get it all seasoned up. I'm going to put it into the crock pot before we go to bed on Sunday, so that by Monday morning it's going to be ready. It's going to be done. It's going to be tender, and we're going to wake up to those smells. Then I can pull it, and it's ready for the afternoon to be able to put together some nice pork butt sandwiches. I'm also going to work on some slaw, and I actually bought the fixings. I'm being bad. I bought the fixings of macaroni and cheese because I haven't done that in a while here, at home. And the big guy comments all the time. He tells his brother this all the time, that she fixes all the good stuff for the kids because the kids say what they want. They say, Mimi, we want macaroni and cheese, we want spaghetti, we want chili, or whatever it is that they may want at that particular time. Well, he never really says. He says, oh, whatever you want to fix. So he doesn't get macaroni and cheese as often as he would like. So anyway, I think I'm going to surprise him, and we're going to have a little macaroni and cheese on the side. That's going to be the little side dish. And also, we got some friends that are going to be coming over. So if someone doesn't want to use, like, I like the pulled pork, but I don't necessarily want to put it on a bun. So I'm going to have the pulled pork on the plate, going to have the slaw, going to have some macaroni and cheese, and let me think as to what else is going to go on that plate, but something else is going to have to go on that plate as well. Who else is out there? Cindy, hello. Oh, good. Your hubs is already in for football, college football. I love college football. Cindy, that is always a good day. In fact, okay, don't hate, but I'd rather watch college football over the professionals. And I think they're hard, both in basketball as well as football. I love the high school and college basketball, football, and their sports. The professionals are okay, but I like the college and high school levels of that. So Denise says that she's kicking back today and she's relaxing. Oh, that is nice. It is nice to have a day when you just do absolutely nothing. And once these muffins come out and the pie comes out, guess what? This girl's doing nothing. I'm going to get the kitchen cleaned up. We're going to be ready to relax. The big guy is actually out golfing. And so I'm going to have a quiet house. So I've got a book to read. And I'm just going to kick back with my book, my iced tea, and I'm done for the day. And I do believe we're going out for dinner, so I don't have to worry about that. But our apple pie, I'm going to serve for Monday, but I didn't want to wait until Monday to do it. And I've got vanilla ice cream in the freezer, and that's just going to be delicious. So I hope you guys are having an amazing time. And I wish we had enough time for that apple pie to be perfect at this point and finished, but it's not ready yet. And so just keep an eye for the community tab, because I'll post pictures of how the muffins look, how the pie looks, and be on the lookout, because I'm also going to have that homemade pie crust out there so that you can have a chance to make your own, get them into your freezer and ready to go, because girls, the holiday is right around the corner, and we're going to need those pie crusts already made. And this pie crust recipe we can use for chicken pot pie. So, it's very versatile. So that's a good thing. And it, as you can see, it was very easy to work with and nice and rich. So, I love that you spent this morning with me. You helped me get everything together quickly. And so we're going to have an amazing day. And for those of you who are new to the channel, I am so glad that you're here with me today. And just enjoy yourself. Have a blessed Labor Day. And in fact, Monday at lunchtime, if you have a minute and you're not doing anything, tune in, because we're going to finish up our discussion talking about freezing and storing. And as soon as that discussion's over with, I'm going to show you that homemade pie crust. So without further ado, have a blessed day and enjoy. Oh, Denise, thank you. Have a wonderful week for all of you. See you soon. See you soon.